Stop trying to become someone else. The world already has them. It's waiting for you. I know what it feels like to doubt your own voice, to walk into rooms where you feel too different or not enough, to question if the dream in your heart is realistic, acceptable, or safe. I've been there, standing at the edge of who I was and who I was afraid to become. And here's the truth they don't tell you: your discomfort is not a flaw. It's a signal. It means you're growing. People love to tell you that you're late to success, late to love, late to figuring your life out. But here's something I learned the hard way. Life doesn't run on deadlines, it runs on depth. I used to look around and compare my journey to everyone else's. Someone else was already winning awards. Someone else had the title. Someone else looked settled, secure, confident. And I wondered quietly, what am I missing? Why does it feel like everyone else got the manual and I didn't? What I didn't see was what was happening beneath the surface. The nights of doubt, the moments of fear, the silent rebuilding after disappointment. Because growth doesn't announce itself, it works quietly, slowly, faithfully. You are not behind, you are becoming. Becoming takes time, becoming takes pressure, becoming takes seasons where nothing looks impressive from the outside, but everything is changing on the inside. Roots grow in the dark, and if you rush the process, the foundation cracks later. There were moments in my life where nothing made sense. Doors closed without explanation. Opportunities disappeared just when I thought I was ready. And it felt personal. It felt unfair. But later, much later, I realized those pauses weren't punishments. They were protection. Sometimes life slows you down because you're asking for something that requires a stronger version of you. We forget that timing is wisdom. We want the reward, but we're not always ready for the responsibility that comes with it. The season you're in right now, the confusion, the waiting, the quiet work, it's not wasted. It's shaping your character. And character is what sustains success when talent isn't enough. If you feel stuck, it doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're forming. I've learned to stop asking, why is this taking so long? And start asking, who am I becoming while I wait? Because the wait is never empty. It's filled with lessons you'll need later. Every delay is building patience. Every setback is building resilience. Every unanswered prayer is refining your faith. You don't see it now, but one day you'll look back and understand why it couldn't have happened any sooner. You'll realize you weren't being denied, you were being prepared. We live in a world obsessed with speed, overnight success, instant validation, quick results. But anything meaningful takes time. Anything lasting requires endurance. And the strongest people I know didn't rise fast, they rose ready. So stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. Their chapter is not your chapter. Their pace is not your pace. Their calling is not your calling. Your journey is custom made. Trust it. Even when it's quiet, even when it feels slow, even when no one is clapping yet, because it isn't loud. It's intentional. And one day when you finally arrive at the place you once prayed for, you'll understand this truth deeply. You didn't get there late. You arrived exactly on time. There comes a moment in your life when you realize the hardest work you'll ever do isn't proving yourself to the world. It's unlearning the need to fit into it. I remember walking into rooms where I could feel my difference before I even spoke. The way I looked, the way I sounded, the way I thought. And slowly, without realizing it, I started editing myself, softening my edges, muting my instincts, adjusting my presence so it wouldn't make anyone uncomfortable. And for a while, it worked. I blended in, I became acceptable, but I also became invisible. The truth is, the world doesn't reward sameness, it tolerates it. What it remembers, what it needs, is authenticity. And authenticity often looks like standing alone before it looks like standing tall. Your difference is not a weakness, it's your signature. Every time you shrink to fit into someone else's expectation, you abandon a piece of your power. And power doesn't come from imitation. It comes from ownership, from knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. I learned that the very things I was told to change were the things that made me unforgettable. My voice, my perspective, my fire. Once I stopped hiding them, opportunities didn't just open, they aligned. But here's the part no one warns you about. Choosing to be yourself will cost you something. It may cost you approval. It may cost you comfort. It may even cost you people who like the version of you that was easier to control. Let them go. Because the people meant to walk with you won't ask you to disappear to be loved. When you honor your truth, you give others permission to do the same. And that kind of courage changes rooms. It changes conversations. It changes lives. Differences are uncomfortable, especially in the beginning. It draws attention. It invites judgment. But it also attracts alignment. The moment you stop trying to belong everywhere, you start belonging where it actually matters. I've learned that confidence isn't loud. It's grounded. It's the quiet certainty that you don't need to explain your worth to anyone who doesn't see it. You weren't created to be universally liked. You were created to be real. And real people don't blend in. They stand out. Not because they're trying to, but because they're being honest. Stop asking yourself, how do I fit in here? Start asking, is this place worthy of who I am? Because fitting in asks you to change yourself. Belonging asks you to be yourself. There is a difference. Your accent tells a story. Your scars tell a story. Your perspective tells a story. And the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your original voice. So take up space. Speak fully. Show up as you are. Not as you think you should be. The moment you stop diluting yourself, you become undeniable. And what once felt like a liability becomes your legacy. There was a time when I waited to feel ready. Ready to start. Ready to be consistent. Ready to chase what scared me. And most days that feeling never came. What I learned is this. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. And intention is what builds a life. Discipline isn't punishment. It's protection. It's choosing yourself on the days when your feelings are tired, your confidence is low, and your excuses are loud. It's waking up when no one is watching. It's doing the work before the applause exists. It's saying no to what feels easy so you can say yes to what matters. Discipline is self-respect in action. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen trust. And trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence. Not hype, not validation. Trust. I used to think discipline meant being hard on myself. Ruthless, relentless. But real discipline is gentle. It's steady. It understands that greatness isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in quiet consistency. It's the choice to show up even when the results aren't visible yet. There were mornings when I didn't feel inspired. Nights when doubt tried to negotiate with my commitment. And I learned something important. Your future is listening to what you do today, not what you say you'll do tomorrow. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Discipline is what bridges that gap. It's not about perfection. It's about practice. about returning to work again and again, even after you fail, especially after you fail. Because failure doesn't break discipline, quitting does. People often ask how confidence is built. It's not built on success alone, it's built on follow-through, on knowing that when things get uncomfortable, you won't abandon yourself. That's power. Discipline teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It teaches you that progress doesn't need to be loud to be real. And when discipline becomes part of your identity, you stop chasing shortcuts because you trust the process. There is something deeply grounding about doing what you said you would do, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, especially when no one notices. That's when integrity is formed, and integrity changes everything. Because when life tests you, and it will, discipline becomes your anchor. Feelings will fluctuate, circumstances will shift. But discipline keeps you moving forward when emotion wants you to retreat. It's a quiet strength, a sacred commitment, and the most beautiful part, discipline compounds. Small actions repeated daily build momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds courage. And courage builds destiny. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need to honor it daily. One decision at a time, one promise kept, one moment of choosing growth over comfort. That's how transformation happens. So don't wait to feel ready. Be ready because you showed up anyway. Respect your dreams enough to work for them. Respect yourself enough to stay consistent. And remember, discipline isn't about control. It's about love. Love for the life you're building. Love for the person you're becoming. There are seasons in life when clarity feels like a luxury, when you're expected to move forward, but the path ahead is foggy. When everyone asks for answers, and all you have is a feeling in your chest that says, go. That's where faith lives. Not in certainty, not in guarantees, but in the decision to take the next step anyway. I didn't always know how things would work out. I just knew that standing still felt like betraying the quiet voice inside me. And that voice, the one that nudges you toward growth, it doesn't shout, it whispers. It asks for courage, not confidence. Faith is choosing courage when certainty is absent. We often wait for permission from the world before we move, a sign, approval, proof. But faith asks for something deeper, trust. Trust that the dream placed in your heart wasn't an accident. Trust that the timing, though unclear, is intentional. Trust that you will be met with strength when you need it most. There were moments when I felt unqualified, when the room felt too big, the expectations too high, and my doubts louder than my belief. And still I walked in. Not because I felt fearless, but because I refused to let fear make my decisions. Faith doesn't eliminate fear. It teaches you how to walk with it. Every meaningful step I've taken in my life began with uncertainty, with a leap that made no logical sense on paper. But purpose rarely does. Purpose asks you to surrender control and trust that the net will appear after you jump. And sometimes the net isn't comfortable. Sometimes it's resilience, sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes it's a deeper connection to who you truly are. Faith stretches you. It removes the illusion that you have to know everything before you begin. It reminds you that growth is revealed in motion, not in waiting. We think faith is passive. It's not. It's active. It's choosing hope when evidence is thin. It's choosing effort when outcomes are unknown. It's choosing to believe that your story is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it feels unfinished. There were days when all I could do was show up and pray for strength. And strength came, not all at once, but moment by moment. Enough for the step in front of me, enough for today. That's how faith works. It meets you where you are, not where you wish you were. When you move in faith, you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I grow? You realize that even the moments that don't work out are still working for you. Nothing is wasted when you walk with intention. Faith teaches you surrender, not giving up but giving over, releasing the need to control every outcome, and trusting that what's meant for you will find you when you're ready to receive it. And readiness isn't about certainty, it's about willingness. So if you're standing at the edge of something new, unsure, unsteady, but called, take the step. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even if the path isn't clear yet, light comes after movement, and one day you'll look back and realize that the moments you were most unsure were the moments you were most guided. Failure has a way of making things feel final, like a door closed forever, like a label stamped on your identity. But failure is not a verdict, it's information. I've experienced moments where things didn't work out the way I imagined, where the effort was real, the intention was pure, and the result was still rejection. And it hurts, not because I failed, but because I cared. Failure hurts the most when you've shown up fully, and that pain can either harden you or educate you. I learned early on that every no carries a lesson, if you're willing to listen instead of retreat. Failure isn't telling you who you are, it's showing you where you need to grow. But here's the challenge. Failure demands humility. It asks you to look honestly at yourself, to separate your worth from your outcome, to admit that even when you try your best, there is always more to learn. And that humility is powerful, because when you stop seeing failure as a personal attack, you start seeing it as guidance, redirection, refinement, feedback designed to sharpen your instincts and strengthen your resilience. Some of my greatest breakthroughs came my most disappointing moments, not because I avoided failure, but because I stayed open to its lessons. Failure teaches you how to stand back up without applause, how to rebuild without bitterness, how to keep believing without proof. It shows you what you're made of when things fall apart. We live in a culture that celebrates wins but hides losses. So when you fail, you think you're alone. You're not. Every person you admire has failed more times than you've even tried. The difference is they didn't stop. Failure becomes dangerous only when it convinces you to quit, when it whispers that you're not enough, not talented, not deserving. But those whispers aren't truth. They're fear trying to protect you from discomfort. Growth lives on the other side of that discomfort. Every failure teaches you something success never could. It teaches you patience. It teaches you discernment. It teaches you how to move forward with wisdom instead of ego. And most importantly, it teaches you resilience. Resilience isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's the quiet decision to try again, with more awareness and less fear. I've learned to ask better questions after failure. Not why did this happen to me, but what is this trying to teach me? That shift changes everything, because when you learn, you don't lose, you evolve. Failure strips away illusion. It shows you where your foundation is weak and gives you the chance to rebuild stronger. And rebuilding takes courage, the kind that doesn't look glamorous, but lasts. So don't let one moment define you. Don't let one setback convince you that your story is over. It's not, it's just getting deeper. If you're willing to rise with humility, adjust with intention, and move forward with faith, failure becomes a teacher, not a sentence. And one day you'll thank it, because the strength you gain from falling and rising again, the kind that nothing can take away. Success has a way of testing your heart, not when you're climbing, but when you finally arrive, because achievement without grounding can make you forget who helped you rise. And I've learned that the higher life lifts you, the deeper your roots must grow. Gratitude is not politeness, it's perspective. There were moments when I thought success would complete me, that once I reached a certain place I would finally feel fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't come from applause, it comes from purpose, and purpose is revealed through service. I've seen this truth again and again. When your work is bigger than you, it carries weight. When your success creates space for others, it lasts. Serving others keeps you human. It reminds you that you didn't arrive alone, that your journey is connected to countless unseen hands, prayers, sacrifices, and moments of grace. Gratitude keeps you aware of that truth. It keeps your ego in check and your heart open. When gratitude lives in you, success doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you generous. I learned that giving isn't about how much you have, it's about how aware you are. A kind word, an open door, a willingness to mentor, to listen, to lift. These acts don't slow your rise, they deepen it. And here's something powerful. Service aligns you with meaning. When you stop chasing recognition and start creating impact, life responds differently. Opportunities become purposeful, wins become shared, and fulfillment becomes sustainable. True success isn't lonely. The more you grow, the more responsibility you carry. Responsibility to use your voice wisely, to remember where you came from, to create space for those still finding their way. Gratitude turns achievement into stewardship. It teaches you that what you have is not just for you. And when you live with that awareness, you move with humility. Instead of entitlement, I've watched people reach incredible heights and lose themselves there. Not because success changed them, but because they forgot to stay grounded. Gratitude keeps you anchored. Service keeps you connected. They are not distractions from ambition. They are its compass. When you serve, you stop measuring your life only by what you gain and start measuring it by what you give. And that shift brings peace. A deep, steady peace that success alone can't provide. There is a quiet strength in acknowledging that you are both blessed and responsible. That your work matters because it touches lives, not because it builds status. Gratitude softens you without weakening you. It allows you to celebrate your achievements without losing your soul. So as you rise, remember the struggle, remember the support, remember the grace that carried you when talent wasn't enough, and then give back in ways seen and unseen. Because when service becomes part of your success, your legacy outlives your achievements. The world doesn't need more powerful people, it needs more grateful ones. There comes a point in your journey when you understand that becoming isn't about arrival, it's about alignment. About standing fully in who you are, without apology, without comparison, without waiting for permission. For a long time I thought success meant reaching a version of myself that everyone else would recognize as worthy. But the truth is, the most powerful version of you is the one that feels honest, the one that doesn't perform for approval, the one that knows its values and lives by them, even when it's inconvenient. Becoming your own version is an act of courage. It means choosing authenticity over acceptance, truth over trends, integrity over image, and those choices are not always rewarded immediately. Sometimes they cost you comfort. Sometimes they cost you people. but they always return something far greater: peace. When you stop chasing versions, you start building depth. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start living like you know you are. Not because the world confirmed it, but because you did the work to believe it. I learned that self-trust isn't inherited. It's earned. Earned through consistency, through discipline, through honoring your values even when no one is watching. And once you trust yourself, you become unshakable. You no longer need to explain your path. You no longer need to justify your pace. You no longer need to dim your light to fit into someone else's comfort. You become grounded, rooted, clear, and clarity is powerful. When you live aligned, the world responds differently. Not because you're louder, but because you're real. Authenticity has a frequency. People feel it. Opportunities recognize it. Purpose flows through it. You don't need permission to become who you already are. The most liberating moment in life is realizing that you are allowed to evolve, that you can outgrow old identities, that you can change your mind, that you can rewrite your definition of success. You are not here to be predictable. You are here to be present. Your story is not meant to mirror anyone else's. It is meant to reflect your truth, with all its complexity, strength, vulnerability, and faith. When you honor your own version, you stop living in reaction to the world and start living in response to your calling. And calling doesn't shout. It whispers, it nudges, it waits for you to listen. So listen. Listen to what feels right in your spirit. Listen to what aligns with your values. Listen to the quiet knowing that tells you when you're compromising your truth. And then choose courage. Again and again. Because becoming your own version doesn't happen once. It happens daily. In the decisions you make. In the boundaries you set. In the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. This is where the journey comes full circle. You started by becoming. You grew through discipline. You walked through faith. You learned from failure, you rose with gratitude, and now you stand whole, not perfect, not finished, but aligned. And here is the truth I want you to carry forward. You don't need to become someone else to be powerful. You don't need to wait for the world to validate your worth. You don't need permission to shine. Walk in faith, work with discipline, serve with humility, stand in truth, and when you do, your life will speak for itself, not as a copy, not as a compromise, but as your own version. Life will try to rush you. It will try to label you. It will try to convince you that you are late, lacking, or behind. You are none of those things. You are in process. And the process is sacred. Every step you took when you were unsure still counted. Every time you showed up tired still mattered. Every moment you chose courage over comfort shaped you. Faith doesn't promise ease, it promises presence. And when you walk with faith, you are never walking alone. Even in silence, even in waiting, even in the unseen work, discipline will steady you when motivation fades. Gratitude will ground you when success arrives. Service will remind you why your life matters beyond achievement. And becoming your own version will require honesty with the world, but more importantly with yourself. You don't need to rush your becoming. You don't need to explain your journey. You don't need permission to honor your truth. Stand where you are, rooted, awake, willing, and when doubt returns, because it will, remember this: you were not called to be perfect. You were called to be present, to rise with integrity, to walk with faith, to live with purpose. So don't just wake up and live it. The world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs the courage of you, fully alive, fully aligned, and unafraid to become. Walk forward even when the road is unclear. Faith was never meant to see the whole path, only the next step. Honor the work you're doing in silence. Because what's built in truth cannot be shaken. When discipline feels heavy, remember it's shaping the strength you prayed for. When doubt whispers, answer it with trust. When success arrives, meet it with humility and gratitude. You were not created by accident. Your gifts were placed in you on purpose, and what is meant for you will never pass you by. So rise, not in fear, but in faith. Show up, not for applause, but for purpose. Live boldly, serve generously, and trust deeply, because when you walk aligned with faith, your life doesn't just move forward, it becomes a testimony.